Before we get started, go ahead and open up item 382, at least that's what it begins with, in your exercise folder. It's an abandoned building. Kind of stuck on a theme, aren't we? Abandoned buildings, to me, are just really fun to photograph. Lighting and so many things can be so dramatic in an abandoned building. I've actually gotten thrown out of abandoned buildings because although they were abandoned, they were still owned by people who didn't want photographs taken of them. This isn't mine, it's a photo spin, but I like it. I want to make it more dramatic with some lighting effects. And I don't want to use the lighting effects filter. So we're going back to manual again because it can't do what we want it to do. Great filter, but it just can't do some things. So I want beams of light coming out of this window over here, reflecting off the floor down here. That's my idea anyway. So let's try this. Go over and pick up your polygonal lasso tool. Right there. I'm going to start right about here and just click once and then move. I'm going to get right to about here and then come back up to make our first sunbeam. I'm going to move over a little, click again, come back down, come back up. Let's do one more. Come back down to about here and come back up to here and then just double click. There, stage one. Now we need to influence everything but the area that's selected, so go to the word select and say inverse. Pretty easy. Go down into your adjustments and let's change the exposure. How dark and gloomy do you want it? Now click this button right here, which is of course the controls on the mask. And the only thing I really want to do probably is the feathering. We need to soften those guys up. Maybe something, not quite that much. Maybe something like that. Let's go ahead and close out of here for a second. Now the next thing I want to do is put that light on the floor. Okay, so it's lighting up the floor and going off the picture on the right. So I need another way to do that, and we need another selection. So this time, with the same tool, I'm going to come over, say here, and I'm going to come out. Now the angle, you'll notice, is different, but it would be in perspective. It wouldn't be the same as that angle right there. It'd be a little bit different. So I'm going to get to about here. I'm going to come over here. It doesn't matter what you do because we're off the image. But I do want to come back over here and kind of grab that edge, just like that. I have over here a darker gray and a white. If you haven't done that yet, you might start out with white and black. Okay, I want the darker color on the front, so I'm going to click my little bent arrow right here to put it there. Come up here and pick a dark gray. Not too dark though, but a dark gray. And what I want to do now is pick up my gradient tool, linear gradient, and foreground to background color, which is right here. I'm going to grab right about here and drag, and I'm going to try to make the angle of that line too. Something like that. Now the cool thing about working with what we just did is that we applied another selection to the mask for exposure. But if you remember, we also feathered it. Well, the cool thing about this is the feathering process will be applied to our selection, keeping it consistent. Now, we're not done. If I come over here and pick up my, paintbrush again. Now, up here under my brushes, I've already bent this one down just a little bit, but if you haven't yet, what we want is a brush about that size. See that? I want to squeeze it in just a little bit. Something like that. Okay, now when I come out of here, I want a little bit of a darker color than what I'm using, so I'm going to click up here to get a darker gray. Now, pop that once or twice up there to light up that window. And that helps blend in our sunbeams too, so we don't see where they begin and end. Now, the cool thing is we're still in control. If we go into exposure by clicking here, we can still work to change the exposure, maybe go in here and feather just a little bit more if we want to do that. Let me go back over here so we can do that. Total control. Now again, if we go up here, let me close this out. And here's the before. We did quite a few things to this. Nice image. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. But we've made it more, in a sense, dramatic by doing something like this.